Hello, beautiful souls. Thank you so much for joining us for yet another day of the Pet Lover Summit. I have with me today a bonus speaker, Dr. Ihor Basko, and the title of this interview today is Pets Aging Gracefully with Medicinal Mushrooms. Dr. Basko has a fully holistic practice with focus on nutrition, supplementation with vitamins, minerals. I forgot to ask you how to say this, Doctor. Nutraceuticals. Well, how do I say that?
Nutraceuticals. It's a made-up word, but it's common in that business world. Nutraceuticals.
Nutraceuticals and herbal formulas. Prevention, pet care, treating geriatric and injured dogs as well as cats. Geriatric medicine, cancer, allergies, chronic digestive problems, and skin problems make up a large percentage of his practice. Primary treatments include acupuncture, massage, cold laser, and nutritional counseling, as well as herbal therapies. Graduated Michigan State U Veterinary College 1971, IVAS certified in acupuncture 1985. He also helps people via phone consults, giving advice regarding medical problems that have not had success with conventional medicine. On Saturdays, Dr. Basko hosts a radio show, Pets, People, and Paradise, which presents holistic concepts to the listeners and how to care for pets at home. Dr. Basko has been formulating pet nutraceuticals for Genesis Resources, Chemin, and currently for Vet Classics and Nature Vet. He has formulated over 50 products. And his current interests are medicinal mushrooms, Hawaiian medicinal plants, tropical invasive plants with medicinal properties, and probiotic use instead of antibiotics. Dr. Basko, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me on and letting me share some of my good stuff to help your animals. And the topic of the day is going to be aging, and unless you're aging yourself, like if you're over 60 or so, you don't really think about aging. But when you have a pet, you can definitely see them aging. And then before you know it, they got all these problems,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So having to work with a lot of different conditions, primarily people come to me for cancer, that's alternative. Right. The medicinal mushrooms were like something that only rich people and old people that were rich would take in their old, age.
Really?
In the Orient, they were really revered. And when you go out hunting, that was some of the things that people were expertise on, but it wasn't popular until later. But the whole thing is, what is aging? That's before we go into the mushrooms. We should know, what is aging? It's just like wrinkles, you get flabby, your dog can't walk, gets a heart disease, And so it's natural, okay? It's a natural process in which more cells die than are regenerated.
Okay.
In general. Like your body fluids start to shrink. Like that's why you have wrinkles. Your collagen shrinks. And things shrink, and including the internal organs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because they're wearing out. You can't get like a new battery for your dog,
Right.
So the aging process is a chronic process of there's more degeneration than there's regeneration. And then in the process of degeneration, it's like your body waste, chemicals from the food and water, air that's in the body, all that stuff gets stored, and sometimes it gets released and causes the animals to be sick. So all those things, the dead cells, the floating around, unprocessed food, and all that creates inflammation. And that is like a complex term. It's not like, a rash or burning. It includes like this whole complex immune system. It's like 80% of your immune system is in your gut.
Right.
So healthy gut, healthy food, healthy individuals. So that's kind of like, oh, you want to like help aging, either yourself or your animals. You got to change your diet and probably include more things that have antioxidants, things that help you detox, because there's a lot of detox stored in your body. And
Yeah.
when you shrink as you age, a lot of toxins are released, and your liver or your dog's liver or your cat's liver is not like 10 years ago functioning. It's old and it's, clogged up with fat and a bunch of other things. And so old animals and old people, we need help. So one way you can help is better diet, cleaner diet, less protein in the food, water. Just start with that. Don't add more stuff that the body has to react to. So that inflammation and that whole process of more degeneration than regeneration and things that cause that, like you smoke, you're degenerating your lungs. I mean, that's oxidative stress from the smoke, degenerating your lungs. So that's one extreme of example, but we want to reduce oxidative stress. So one of the problems or the challenge is how do you do that? You have to first know what creates oxidative stress. And the main things are things in your food and things and drugs and various types of treatments that cause some kind of damage to the liver, the spleen, the adrenal gland, chemical exposure. And then stress at home, which a lot of people don't realize, but they're stressed and they have like a close connection with a dog or even a bunch of dogs or cats. They stress their animal. The dog gets stressed, gets more hyper. And that kind of throws off the whole immune system, because the dog or the cat, but it's mostly little dogs, are sympathetically stimulated. So their adrenal gland, their stress gland is like just overworked, which makes the heart beat faster.
Right.
Makes more stress. So that's one example of oxidative stress. Is the dog is so hyper from the home stress, and then the diet contributes to it because it has these chemicals, contaminants. And so you keep feeding. So you can put a dog or a cat on all these supplements, but if you're still feeding commercial food, even if it says like fresh raw and it's like been frozen or dehydrated, you don't really know what's in that food. And people really, the best thing you can do is to learn how to the deeper parts of food and the food that heals your old dogs or your old self,
Yes.
And those are gonna be vegetables. I mean, people who live the longest in the world, they're not meat eaters.
Right. Yes.
Why is that? Well, the stuff in the vegetables, and this is one of the things I talk about, what are antioxidants? They help your aging process. They help you repair your degeneration that's going on, and you can get it from the food. So you can give pills of antioxidants, you can give powders, or you can also primarily feed your dogs and cats antioxidants in their food.
Yes.
So there's a number of ones, moringa, broccoli, asparagus, kale, those kind of things. You learn how to cook with that, added to whatever food you're making, whether it's cooked all or partially raw. That is kind of like the biggest, if you're going to have pets and you're going to have them for a long time, learning how to make your own food with some, getting some input. But from experience, I tell you, I hardly ever have to do anything with my cats. All they do is eat and lay around and maybe catch some rats. They have a great life, but they don't do anything to medical things, my dog, you know.
That's because you feed them so amazing. I don't know if you're going to mention it, Dr. Basko, so I'm going to throw it in here. Dr. Basko has recipes for dogs and cats on his website, and you can buy them. And I bought some for my kitties. I bought the cat recipe book, and I've been feeding them for probably just over a week. They are digging it, and I just love it because we are learning so much on this summit about the toxins in the food, in the pet kibble, no matter how much you pay for it, no matter what, if it says organic or whatever, the stuff that's in there is not made for them. It's really just for our convenience. And, you know, I encourage everyone who's watching this to, you know, learn how to feed the animals properly, how to take care of your animals properly. And this is why we're here today. And this is why we appreciate you so much. And food is where it starts. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're talking about aging. So yeah, there's pills. We're going to talk about mushrooms, but
Yeah,
basic thing is like, you got to change the diet. You can't like,
you have to start there.
kind of like it's in the bag. It says geriatric, natural. I mean,
Natural kibble.
so
Yeah.
moving along from fresh, wholesome food that is specific for your breed.
Yeah.
So like the book, You Eat for Your Blood Type.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of brought out some of the genetic parts. So if you have wolf dogs, you're going to need like, okay, you're going to need like a deer once in a while, or you have a Shih Tzu and it's just like stir fry. So you have to like, it's an old wolf dog versus an old Shih Tzu will have maybe different types of ingredients in their food because they come from
Interesting.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
like, you know, food, you'll discover like why some cultures or races, they can't handle alcohol.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And so,
It's
and
kind of like an
others
allergy.
can't
I mean, that's
handle-
not what it's called, but yeah.
Yeah, they don't have an enzyme to break it down in their liver. And then other people can't handle like gluten.
Right.
They don't have the genes, you know. And so the same thing is true that is feeding animals. And it's never talking in veterinary medicine. It's usually the people that are anthropologists and bioanthropologists, which the evolution of dogs and humans. Those people are the ones that talk about what to feed a dog because they look at the evolution of humans throughout the centuries and what did they eat? What did their dogs eat? Safeway.
Right.
And so that is a good thing. Now, in the medicinal mushrooms, that has been something that people ate more than they did meat. In the countries and the cultures that live long, like Siberia is one, and then parts of China and Japan, and they're all eating mushrooms. I mean, in their diet, and it's in their environment, so they pick it, and then some people have to like pay a lot of money for it because they don't know anything about finding them in the woods and making their own. Right. So the reishi mushroom, the Ganoderma reishi mushroom, the mushroom of immortality, that was like the one you take if you're like a old guy and wants to work himself to death at his business. He's got a, you know, works 12 hours, but putting it around the other way is an old dog still has the willingness to go out, do stuff, but the energy is declining. The heart is getting weaker, you know? And so people think about, some people, oh, ginseng, that's gonna like jack you up and that'll be good for a dog. Well, maybe, but ginseng has side effects, whereas the reishi mushroom is like, there's really nothing wrong with it except its taste. It's really bitter. So it's difficult to get into dogs and cats, but there is a way. So that is used for rehabilitation, old dogs, dogs with cancer, dogs with dementia, dogs with problems. It has pain qualities like ibuprofen. If you take so it's like, it does everything. And that's hard for traditional conventional medicine to understand how one thing can do so many things. Well, it's because it's got 200 compounds instead of
Wow.
like one in ibuprofen. Okay. So it does a lot of things. So the
Right.
next one is your cordyceps, your antler, deer antler fungus, which is like a really weird mushroom that you would never probably pick or even want to think about. But someone discovered, you know, a couple thousand years ago that this was like the best thing to do for old people also, because it helps your kidneys so you don't have to get up in the middle of the night 3 times to pee, whatever. Your dog, you know, some people don't get sleep because their dog has to go out in the middle of the night to pee, or they have pee pads all over the house,
Wow.
you know, because they don't want to get up in the middle of the night. And
Hmm.
so cordyceps and shiitake, you buy all these in capsules or powders and you do
Yeah.
that way. But basically, cordyceps and shiitake are the two, like you got a leaky dog, okay? And
Hmm.
besides that, they help the kidneys function better,
Yeah.
the liver, immune system, your fat
Hmm.
metabolism, your glucose, and they're both anti-cancer.
Wow.
All those mushrooms, reishi, cordyceps, deer antler mushroom, and your shiitake, anti-cancer, antiviral.
Right. Okay. Amazing.
And then the last one, which is the I just wrote a paper on it. I'm still have to clean it up a bit. Lion's mane for your brain. Okay.
Lion's mane. Yes.
There was this rumor going around, and it's like, I gotta investigate that because I like mushrooms and I didn't know anything about lion's mane. I have pictures of it, I've seen it. So all
Beautiful.
this research in Japan mostly, but also in China, you know, as you get old, okay, you live long, but then you have dementia.
Hmm.
That is a problem.
Yeah.
And that's a problem big enough to look at. What can we do to prevent dementia? So in those Asian countries, including Korea, they're doing, okay, we're doing all that stuff. And the lion's mane is like this amazing thing.
Amazing.
It's regenerate your brain. And if you have
Whoa.
nerve damage, I mean, it sounds like science fiction, and it's like almost too far out.
It's nature. It's amazing.
It helps
I love it.
regenerate nerves. Like, who figured that out like 200 years ago? Some Chinese guy living in a
Wait,
village.
lion's mane regenerates nerves too? Wow.
Yeah, I was surprised. I heard about the brain, but then I started looking at, all this other research, nerve generation, because it stimulates the body to produce this protein that helps stimulate regeneration.
Okay.
This is
Okay.
like really science fiction. Like, who would have
Awesome.
thought a mushroom to help you stimulate a protein that's going to, you know, improve your health?
Yeah.
That's pretty far out. So that's why a lot of veterinarians don't prescribe mushrooms, because it's too difficult to explain unless you're really like, oh, I got to read a lot of this, and I've been reading too much.
Yeah.
you
No,
know,
this is huge. This is really important information. And I hope a lot of the people who are watching today are really taking really good notes, because you know, it's just been my experience and my observation too, that humans and pets, many of us, it's almost chronic in our society where we're living too short and dying too long. So our bad habits are catching up with us, and then we're just really slowly, you know, moving through life in a horrible way. And the information that you're sharing with us today about the mushrooms, and, you know, basic microbiome, proper food, all that stuff is so vital, and it's really important for us all to get back to it. So I am curious, because you were talking about how reishi is bitter, and I'm not sure the different flavors of the other mushrooms, but what is the best way for us to get our animals to ingest these, and how do we know what to give them and dosages and all that stuff? That's complex.
So the strength of the mushroom will vary from company to company to company. So
Okay, so we're talking about capsules then?
No, we're just talking about a powder
Mushrooms.
that's
Powder,
either in a
okay.
capsule or in a
Okay.
powder. So you have to investigate if you have any knowledge of how do they make the powder. Is it
Okay.
just powder, or did they heat it with hot water to activate it and then dry?
Wow.
Or did they soak it in alcohol to
Oh my
activate
gosh.
things and then dehydrate the alcohol? So,
Whoa.
and this is kind of finally when my biochemistry comes in that I took like, I don't know, 50 years ago. The different ways of extracting things will give you a different effect. So if you buy one brand, oh, this didn't work. You try another brand, oh, it works. So that's a whole other story. But the basic thing is powder are easier to put in the food, and reishi is the hardest one. Shiitake, lion's mane, and cordyceps are not a big problem, but if it's bitter, then you have to balance bitterness out with something salty.
Salt. Okay. All right. Interesting.
Yeah, there's this whole thing in Chinese medicine of how to make food balanced. So one of the things, if the food is too bitter, you add salt.
Mm-hmm.
And if
All
it's
right.
too sweet, you add sour, right? Sweet and sour, right?
Okay.
Right. So what's salty and what's fatty to cover some of the bitterness? Well, a pat of salted butter.
Salted butter. Now, is that so? Okay, I understand that's for the reishi specifically is what you're talking about, but I did also notice like in the cat recipes, you have a lot of butter in the recipes.
You got to
Is that salted butter, and is butter really good for the cats? Like,
it's not necessarily good or bad. What's good about it is it ain't harmful.
Okay.
Unless your dog or cat has some kind of weird liver disease, but
okay.
It's if it sits in the bottle or in a package and you can't give it to your animal, it's a waste of money and a waste of time.
Totally.
So you got to figure out ways to do this. So
yeah,
melted butter, mix the mushrooms in there. So what I recommend is get 3 or 4 and then just mix them all together. So you have to think about it. And then you pour enough butter in there to coat that powder and mix it up. Hot butter.
Yeah.
And then you just let it solidify.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's already made. And so you figure out, oh, my cat needs a half a teaspoon twice a day. So that's like 1 teaspoon a day. So how many teaspoons are in this of combined powder in this package, and how much butter that I put in there? So usually it comes out to like a cup of butter is a half a teaspoon of that butter mushroom mix. For a cat that maybe is old and it's like having a hard time, appetite.
Wow.
And you can give more. So that there's no like I gave him too much and he died, like with drugs.
Right. Mushrooms. Mm-hmm.
More is better, but you have to like start easy with it, especially a cat or a little dog, because I have picky cats and I have a picky terrier. And so I'm always learning how to sneak stuff and what, covers the smell, like Parmesan cheese.
Uh-huh.
That might, some dogs, they smell
that's salty,
mushrooms.
Right?
It's salty and it's like thick cheese smell that maybe covers some of that reishi mushroom.
Yeah, I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah, so that way if you make a bunch, instead of like do it every day and try to like bacon fat is another one, we buy this expensive bacon at the health food store for the cats and the dog to sneak in things. So you cut up a piece of the bacon about 1 inch by 1 inch and you put it in a frying pan. And then you put something in that you want them to have in their food, or they didn't eat the meal I made. And I spent like an hour making it. And then they just like ate a little bit and walked away. So I'm going to take that out. I'm going to heat it up in bacon fat, and I'm going to put it back and feed them later. And that usually works, you know.
Yes, I love it. That's amazing. And I love the tip about making, little half teaspoon or teaspoon worth with the butter in it. That's amazing. I absolutely love that, because we all want something that's healthy and easy and convenient. And a lot of people are busy, and that's an amazing, awesome tip. I really appreciate that.
The other one is tomato sauce for mushrooms.
What?
So
Tomato sauce
is really salty.
Okay.
And most animals will eat tomatoes, including cats. So if it's a tomato, like a paste, and you put your whatever to cover up the flavor, then you could mix that up really well, let it sit for a while, and then mix it with the rest of the food, and that sometimes works. I had a cat that loved tomato. I have a dog, I think, is Mexican. She loves like hot sauce and tomato stuff. So some dogs might not, but it's another thing besides butter, besides bacon fat. If you're a vegan, okay, you don't want butter in the house, you're definitely not going to buy bacon. So try the other, Also the plant-based butter might work.
Really? I'm a vegetarian, but I've been, like I said, I've been buying meat for my animals, and
I know,
I'm like, I love
crazy.
my cats, and I'm buying food and making making meat. And there was a woman that in the grocery store, like, oh, if you love ham, you're gonna love this. I'm like, no, honey, I'm a vegetarian. I'm buying this for my cats. I don't tell me what you think is good. I'm not gonna agree with you.
You buy 2 hunks of beef liver, and they ask you, oh, what are you going to make with that? I'm going to feed it to my cats. It's we're like that too. We don't eat much meat, and when we do meat shopping, it's cats and dogs. 3 cats. They're carnivores. They want like vegetables too, but they only like certain kind of meats. They won't eat pork. Anyhow, that's another story. But the thing is, you could get mushrooms, my books, and start there. I mean,
and where do people find your book?
Online. You just go to my website. I got one for cats, and I got one for dogs, and then I have like a booklet on medicinal mushrooms. So it's like all the medicinal mushrooms, and
love it.
Everything they do. And there's a video on aging, your dog. And so there's a lot of information, and depending on what you're interested in, I think it's a good place to start, because you can always add more things or take it in and make it your own. Like that's what I do with food. You look at a few cookbooks, and then, okay, I'm going to do it like this, and that's kind of like my books. You're going to do that. And your cats are like different than my cats. So they only eat, ahi instead of mahi,
Yes.
That kind of stuff.
Exactly. I'm learning. I'm figuring it out too. Well, your reference to the website is a great segue. First of all, thank you so much for sharing all this knowledge. And it really is just a teeny little bite-sized version for the tip of the iceberg of all the amazing properties that mushrooms can offer for us and our pets. We can all benefit from mushrooms. Dr. Ihor Basko, where can people find you? What is the name of your website?
Well, it's real simple. Your www.drbasko, like short for doctor, dr, B as in boy, asko.com.
Awesome. And guys, the link is right below, so you can click on it, easy peasy. You don't have to worry about spelling anything out. It's already done for you. Dr. Basko, thank you so much for being here on the Pet Lover Summit. We really appreciate you. And thanks for everything. I don't even know what else to say. My mind's blown.
It's good talking to you, and I love mushrooms. Eat your mushrooms. We're having shiitakes tonight.
All right. Yes, I love mushrooms too. Mushrooms for everybody.
Yeah. Aloha.
Awesome. Thank you. Aloha.